Why does your mic look like that? All right, it's good now.
What it look like?
Fuzzy.
Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bear. Fuzzy Wuzzy had no hair.
All right. I feel like the only thing to really that makes sense to talk about probably at the top. I will start by saying I'm not overly prepared. I was slightly busy this week. But I think the only thing to kind of start off with at the top is the news that struck this afternoon, and that is Stefon Diggs being traded from the Buffalo Bills to the Houston Texans. Initial thoughts.
Um, I think it's a great move. I think it's a better move for the Bills than it is for the Texans. If I had to pick a winner, I would pick the Bills as the winner of this, I think. Um, I think this was something that we both talked a lot about, and we both thought that this was going to happen um, once the season was over. So it didn't necessarily surprise me that. I mean, I guess it always kind of surprises me when a big name receiver gets moved, but like I said, we did discuss this and we did think that he was going to be out of there. Um, CT ESPN called it before all of us,
True.
so we have to give them their flowers. But yeah, I think that this was a better move for the Bills. It feels like that relationship kind of just came to an end, and that they needed to move on from Diggs. Um, they have it's like 30 mil in dead cap that they have to eat from his contract this year. But I think it was just time. I think they needed
Is
to
that
move on,
true?
and that's what I saw.
I don't see how that would be the case, but if you saw it, you're probably right. I mean, usually you trade a guy so the other team absorbs the salary. It's kind of the
It
point.
says
They're able to
right
take it
here,
on.
trading Diggs creates a massive dead salary cap hit for the Bills this year, around 31 million.
Who said that?
I'm seeing it here on USA Today. I'm seeing it. I saw it on verified Twitter accounts. Spotrac tweeted it.
Okay. Well, then it must be
So
right. That's
yeah, it
weird.
says by trading Diggs before June 1st, thus taking
Oh,
on all
okay.
31 mil of his dead cap in 2024.
Okay. That makes a lot more sense then.
So
Um,
because of them not waiting, they're eating it right now. But yeah, I mean, I think there was always kind of like little rumors going around here and there about Diggs just like not being happy and kind of being like an issue in the locker room. That's probably the only reason why I like it more for the Bills than for the Texans. Now he could go into Houston and just be a completely rejuvenated guy playing with CJ Stroud, Nico Collins, some of those other guys. I think when Diggs is right, he's top 10 wide receiver in the league. So if they're getting the right version of Diggs, it's going to be an excellent move for Houston, and we'll see what happens. But I think if I had to pick a winner, I would pick the Bills.
yeah, there's a few things I want to go back to. First, I tweeted this today. I said Bills wanted Diggs out of the building. Good. This is before I read this tweet. This is a true win-win for both sides. The Bills wanted Diggs out of the building. Good move for both sides. Bills move on from an aging, expensive wide receiver, giving them more financial freedom in the future. Houston rounds out their offense by adding another talented veteran piece to an already talented offense. True and win. I think the Texans are so young that like anybody that they add of age is good. The
Fair,
second
like
thing
a
I
veteran presence to have in there. Like him and Joe Mixon are the veterans per se of that special
and
of that offense.
they've both played in a ton of big games, ton of big playoff games. Like that stuff matters. Um, the second thing I want to say is with Diggs, I think he'll still be talented, but realistically, like if you just go through the history of wide receiver, when wide receivers turn 30, 31 years old, which Diggs is 30, they start to have decline in play. So I think it's realistic to say that Diggs is on like the back nine of his career. And then the last thing that I would say is that this the key pieces move like big names moving doesn't surprise me in any way, shape, or form. First, because it happens damn near every single offseason now. And then second, like we said this the day that the Bills lost to the Chiefs. Like we hopped on here and said, well, if this is their like if this is their answer to beat the Chiefs and they've lost to the Chiefs, the team who's winning the Super Bowl the last 3 years, this team isn't the answer, so you have to like legitimately blow it up and start from scratch.
Yeah, I don't know. The thing is, I don't know what the Bills' answer is to getting over the hump and beating the Chiefs because we've seen Josh Allen play at a super high level and with good players around him on offense and like a good defense, and they still just haven't been able to get over the hump. So like I don't know what the move is for them that allows them to do that. Um,
I mean,
I'm
I
sure if
think the fir
they knew they would be doing it, but I
the
think this
first
is
thing
probably a good place to start.
the first thing that immediately pops out to me every single season is the Bills never have a healthy edge rusher. They 2 years ago they signed Von Miller. He tears his Achilles. He doesn't play for a year. He comes back halfway through this season and he's a complete shell of himself. Their true number one corner, Tre'Davious White, tore his Achilles, came back, tore his ACL, and didn't play for the last 2 seasons. So something that sticks out to me like literally right away is when your two guys that you're paying the most money on your defense aren't the guys out there performing for you on a week to week basis. That's a big problem. So I think that it literally just kind of comes down to like luck and health. And at the end of the day, like they needed to get younger. Tre'Davious White is getting older. Von Miller is ancient. Stefon Diggs is older. Like this was a long term play. I think that me and you have a slight disagreement on like where the Bills offense will be. I personally think their offense will be completely fine. We saw them rip off like 8 wins to end the season at the end of last year. And Diggs, we talked about it often, was like a no-show for majority of the second half of the season. And they did perfectly fine. So I think that if their answer is to add a receiver in the draft, like I would trust that. And I think that they will be at the same you were like that they'll be mid next season. Well, they were mid last season and they made the playoffs. So I kind of look at them as the exact same team with or without Diggs.
I mean, I think I didn't say this when we were texting because I like took a step back and thought about it a little more. I mean, as long as they have Josh Allen, and I've said this before, I think that they're going to be a decent enough team. I'm just saying, like you're looking at these three guys, whoever they do end up drafting as a rookie, and you're like, dang, that's probably not a great wide receiver core. And I compared it to some of the other receiver cores in the rest of the NFL, and like it's undoubtedly at the bottom, like at the very like the bottom 6 teams in the NFL as far as receiving cores go. But you have Josh Allen at the end of the day, so like you hope that he makes up for it.
And my point was is receivers are a dime a dozen. There are 5 good wide receivers in every single draft class. So you're telling me that like, hey, we might get lucky. Let's take somebody in the first or the second, and then let's take somebody in the fifth or the sixth. And what if one of those guys hit? Then you're right back. Like
So to be fair, when you did text me that, I was kind of unsure what you meant, and I just kind of waited until we were here to discuss it. But when you said that, I thought like you meant dime a dozen in the NFL already, not in the draft. So
I mean,
that's
in the
I
NFL as
understand.
I mean in the NFL as
There's
well.
plenty of good wide receivers in the NFL. The Bills just don't have any of them. But you were talking from a draft standpoint, and I do agree with that.
I mean, I think that we can sit here and say that Khalil Shakir is actually like a pretty decent player for them. He played very well for them the back half of the season. You can sit here and say that Dalton Kincaid is actually like going to be an elite tight end. Like I thought he was on par with Sam Laporta. So
I agree with the Kincaid
so,
statement.
and then we sit here and we watch James Cook like legitimately take over games last season. And I think that like those three pieces like are enough to win football games. Like whether anybody likes to hear it or not, just because it's not like a big hot name or anything like that, like it's really not the end of the world. We've
I
seen
mean, I
guys
think
in the
I think the biggest thing is that they still have Josh Allen. I mean, I think that's what I
yeah.
would end up leaning on as like my final stance on it is that that guy is a guy that can probably make everybody else around him. But like in comparison to the rest of these wide receiving cores, there it's certainly not great.
No, but having an elite receiving core is probably one of the most overrated things in the NFL. It's the coolest thing to have because the guys are cool, they make cool plays, but at the end of the day, it does not matter. The top 10 wide receivers who that we can sit here and be like, these are the top 10 wide receivers in the NFL right now. We're all sitting at home when the games mattered.
Uh
Tay, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, like the big
three.
Tyreek Hill,
And they played a playoff game.
AJ Brown.
A playoff game.
When they got
That's the
blown.
games that mattered. But still,
The,
those are the games that mattered.
what did having AJ Brown for the Eagles do in the playoffs last season?
That's
They
not what you
got beat
said.
by fucking Baker Mayfield.
That's not
So
what you said. You
no,
said
what
the
I'm
games that
saying,
mattered, and the games that matter are the playoff games. There was
no,
those
I'm
first
saying
three
that
guys. I completely agree with you. They were sitting at home. They also had horrible quarterbacks, which obviously I'm not going to sit here and argue that having a having a good wide receiver core is more important than having a good quarterback. But there was still plenty of big name wide receivers that were in that were in the playoffs.
okay, okay, but what did Tyreek Hill do against the Chiefs? Nothing. What did AJ Brown do against the Buccaneers? Nothing. Like these guys, when it really comes down to it, like it's cool to have these names. Don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, it's not the cream of the crop. I think like having a cool wide receiver who wears a visor, like yeah, like good for you, but it's not the end all be all of being a successful football team.
I mean, yeah, I know that. I'm not sitting here and saying that that's the most important thing. Like I said, quarterback play is definitely the most important thing, I would say.
Yeah. Well, listen, I just wanted to make sure that got out because you always gas up these fucking wide receivers who do nothing.
I mean, to be fair, they do.
They
The
do
quarterback
nothing.
play is what matters at the end of the day. But you need guys that can go out there and catch the football.
Yeah, you do, but like having a $30 million year guy at wide receiver, in my opinion, isn't the answer. It's just not
At 30 years old, yeah, I agree.
at any age because that takes away a resources. Can you sit here? I think that me and you can both agree Justin Jefferson is the best wide receiver in the NFL. Do
100%.
we do we ever see Justin Jefferson win a Super Bowl with the Vikings?
No, but do we ever see a competent quarterback for the Vikings moving forward?
They just
Probably
had Kirk
not.
Cousins for the last 3 years.
Yeah, but he fucking tore his leg in half.
But you're sitting here saying you just watched Justin Jefferson get literally spoon-fed the ball for 3 years and ball his dick off with Kirk Cousins.
They
And
had him on a rookie deal. That's the Vikings' fault for not putting money elsewhere.
they didn't even come close.
That's the Vikings' fault.
And now they're going to give him a
That's not
fully
Justin Jefferson's
guaranteed
fault.
now they're going to give him a fully guaranteed contract. I'm just saying, like, from a team building perspective, I don't really understand the purpose of paying a guy like that when you're nowhere close to winning a Super Bowl. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, yeah, I agree with you on that. But I think you get a guy
Okay.
if you get into the right situation, like the Texans, where you have a quarterback on a rookie deal or you have a cheap quarterback like Brock Purdy too. Like I think it does pay. I think it does help. And I think I think it makes a difference when you have a guy like that, depending on your situation. But like, I'm not going to sit here and say that the Vikings should give him $50 million a year. I don't think the Raiders should give I don't think the Raiders should give him $50 million a year. I'm just pulling like these names out of the names that the teams that I'm naming are teams that need to spend their money elsewhere. I think if you have the rest of your shit figured out and you can afford to pay a guy like that, I think you should.
So it's a luxury. It's not a
Yeah, for sure.
necessity. It's not a necessity. It's a luxury.
Yeah, yes, that's a
Okay.
better way to put it. Yes.
Okay. Hey, you're changing your tune on wide receivers in the middle of the season. You would have completely disagree with that. So I'm happy that we're making some progress.
Well,
It's true though.
yes,
That is true.
I
You
know
used to
that.
literally be like, you need to have a number one wide receiver to have a shot. That's not true.
I I I know that. I know that. But I've always said having a quarterback is the most important thing.
Hey, I'm just listen. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm telling you your words.
You are the messenger, though.
Like I'm telling you your words. You can't get mad about what you said.
I'm not. I'm
Um.
not mad. I'm not fucking mad, dude.
So next thing that I think that we should lean into this is another. Twitter was on fire. My Twitter was hot today, and so the next thing that I saw was somebody tweeted, "Rebuilds don't take 4 to 5 years. All it takes is finding the right quarterback.
Yeah, I saw
Texans
that.
were a dumpster fire, and now they're legitimate Super Bowl contenders. All you need is quarterback."
Yeah, that's all you need.
I said, the quarterback is essential, but what is never highlighted during this Texans rebuild are the absolute home run hires that they got in D'Amico Ryans and Bobby Slowick, who immediately became a force as a coaching duo. Successful teams in the NFL have a great front office and elite coaching staff, and the Texans have both. We talked about this during the playoff run when we started looking at the coaching tandems from a offensive coordinator, head coach, defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
If you had that top tier duo, you were in the mix at the end. So
Yeah.
I do think, like I said, the quarterback's always essential, but for some reason, like everybody thinks that that's the only thing that's on the field.
No, I definitely think it quarterback in my eyes is probably most important. But like even if you have like a somewhat competent coach, you should still have some type of success as a unit. I think that I think it kind of goes like I think it kind of goes both ways too. Like if you have a really good coach and like a somewhat competent quarterback, like you can still see success
Kyle Shanahan.
as a team. Yeah. And like I mean, I'm thinking of Brian Dable, obviously not this year, but last year when the Giants made the playoffs and although they lost right away, like that was still a team that nobody really thought was going to be a playoff team, I would imagine. So like I think you need to have somewhat of a balance. Like you can't be too heavy at one spot, head coach or quarterback.
I'm right with you. And
I do
honestly,
want to say I do get I have been I saw that tweet that you tweeted, but somehow like I'm on like kind of Giants Twitter now ever since like the Saquon Barkley trade or deal because I just kept seeing like a bunch of tweets of Giants fans like shitting on him, so I wanted to see like the replies and stuff. But there was a bunch of Giants fans pretty much complaining about that same thing that you just mentioned, how the Giants were ass or the Texans were bad, and then they got or they were good, then they were bad, and then they were good again. And then throughout that entire time, the Giants were just bad. And I think that just goes back to like what you said as far as having a competent like a front office that knows what they're doing.
it matters. I mean, and as for like the Texans, like I'm almost to the point now where like I'm like I might like low key kind of like be off of the Texans. Like I don't know yet. Like there's a lot of stuff that needs to happen, but I was really in love with some of their offseason moves. But now like it feels like when everybody starts to become like get on a team, there's an issue. Like it happens every single season. In the off season, everybody gets on this team and then they like fail. So I don't know yet. I don't want that to be the case, but like there are some factors that I'm looking at right now that like make me kind of like iffy about the Texans. And it starts with adding Stefon Diggs. Like I think that it's a good move because it on paper it looks like a good move. Like you get a big name, but like at the end of the day, like I didn't really think that their receiving core was like any issues last year. Like they had a group of young dogs that like played really well together and all had good roles. And I just don't want like Stefon Diggs to like get pissed off because Nico Collins has more targets than him.
Could the Texans be last year's Jaguars?
I see. I don't even think it. I don't even think of it like that. I think like the Texans might be like last year's Chargers, like where like everybody's like Herbert MVP. They're gonna win the division. Like blah blah blah. Like this that.
I saw that same thing with the Jaguars. A lot of
Well,
people were really high on them.
the Jaguars
You were
and
one of them.
yeah, but it's a little different when everybody was also gassing up Herbert, and they're in the same division as just Patrick Mahomes. I thought it was very reasonable to sit here and say, yeah, I think the Jags are going to take the next step and win a division with two rookie quarterbacks. That's obviously not what happened. But I mean, like, I think that like I view this more now as like getting like the Chargers sort of hype.
Why is that not unreasonable for the Texans this year? Or
What?
why is that not reasonable for the Texans to like have that same hype around them? Because is it because they won their division last year? Is that like kind of where you're at?
No, I mean it. I'm a little confused by what you're saying, I think, but
So the Jags were the team going into last season that everybody was hype on. They were like, oh, Trevor Lawrence is going to take that step. They got Calvin Ridley. Like we really like their roster. Which is a
yeah,
lot
I
of
guess
like
what I'm
what we're
saying to
hearing
you,
now about the Texans.
I guess what I'm saying to you is that I think that the Chargers got more hype than what the Jaguars did, is what I'm getting at. Like the Chargers were like NFL Good Morning Football's team and like this person's team and like Bill Simmons and like this, that, and the third. Like people were going on those platforms and being like, man, I love the Chargers. Herbert at 22-1 to win MVP, them to 16-1 to win the Super Bowl. That was like the buzz of the offseason last year. I think the Jaguars were a trendy team, but because like you said, like they were in a division with two rookie quarterbacks. They added Calvin Ridley, and they did not play up to expectation. But like the Chargers, like had like legitimate like the Chargers last year at the beginning of the season, no matter what anybody says, their ultimate, like they were a Super Bowl team. People were like, they need to win the Super Bowl or it's going to be bad for them.
People forget that you picked them to go 15-1.
No, 15-2.
15-2, sorry.
Yeah, and exactly. And I thought that they were going to take the next step, just like everybody did. The year before, everybody was on them, and I was off of them. And then I was like, no, you know what? Like, they're not going to get derailed by injuries 2 years in a row, and they did. And Brandon Staley was that, and on top of that,
That
Brandon
bad of a
Staley
coach.
was that bad of a coach. Real quick, since we're talking about the Chargers, I actually tweeted this today too. So it was somebody quote tweeted the tweet of Schefter saying Bills finalize a trade taking Diggs. Somebody tweeted it and said the Texans are doing for Shroud what the Chargers
Oh
failed to
yeah,
do for Herbert. I
I
tweeted
saw this.
all-time lazy take. They had Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler all in their prime, which they were all great offensive players. On
Yeah.
defense, they had Derwin James, Joey Bosa, and Khalil Mack all in their prime. Khalil Mack had what, 20 sacks last season? And
Yeah, he was a beast.
and I'm even, like I said, I'm leaving out key players that they added throughout the course of that. But
They had a good
ultimately,
offensive line.
what happened was injuries and bad coaching. That was the plain and simple of what was going on. So back to the original point of the Texans. Right now, it looks really good, and they are reminding me a lot of where the Chargers were last year and the year before, like being the media's team. And I feel as if that it could kind of backfire on them.
Let's I'm gonna see what their schedule looks like here.
They don't have schedules out yet.
They have the opponents, but they don't have um the weeks that they're playing.
Oh, okay.
So like right now, all it says is 2024 opponents at NRG. Ravens, Bills, Dolphins, Bears, Lions, Colts, Jags, Titans. So that's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 home games. But and then they travel to the Colts, to the Jags, to the Titans. They play the Chiefs at Arrowhead, at New England, at the Jets, at the
Bro,
Packers, at the Vikings, at the Cowboys.
and none of those dates are confirmed yet?
Correct. It just has this is on like the Houston Texans like official website. It just
Okay.
has the teams that they play home and away.
Okay. I wouldn't be shocked if the
So
first game of the season was the Texans Chiefs.
that would be fire. I would that would be cool. Maybe or Texans Cowboys, the battle for the state.
Yeah. I personally would like to see them go against the Chiefs, but that's just me. Real quick here. What else happened today? Oh, so a few people texted me about my wide receiver comp Twitter
Oh
thread.
yeah, go through that. Go through that.
Okay. Hold on, let me take a look here.
I
It's
got it up if you need it.
no, it's fine. I got it. Do you want me to like share my screen or just read it?
Go
I
ahead, share
think
your screen.
okay.
Let's get visual with it.
So this was my 2024 NFL receiver comparisons. This isn't everybody, obviously, but these are the ones that have like the most buzz. So first one, and if you have any objections or want to interject, just let me know. 20 and the first one I'm starting with is the best guy in this class, Marvin Harrison Jr. I compared him to a faster Larry Fitzgerald. They have the same size, same reliability of the hands. They're both going to be an Arizona Cardinal. Um, the only difference is Larry Fitzgerald was a little slower. I think that Marvin Harrison Jr. does every single thing that Larry Fitzgerald does better, and he's faster. So it is what it is.
No
Do you
no
agree?
disagreement from me there. Yeah, no disagreement from me there.
Next one, Malik Neighbors, 2021 Week 5 versus the Cowboys. Kadarius Toney, where he had like 8 catches for 189 yards, no touchdowns, and then punched a player in the face and got ejected in the fourth quarter.
10 for 189 that week.
Yeah, 10 for 189. So I guess where like I'm very like confused on Neighbors is that I think that where he lacks in his game is like route running, which is going to matter at the next level. And he's very fast, but I don't want him. I don't know if it would make him like a gadget speed guy, and he's not going to be able to become that elite number one where everybody kind of feels like he will be. That's my main concern with Malik Neighbors. Also, everyone's on him. And when everybody's on a prospect, it almost feels like I almost feel sketchy. But at the end of the day, LSU puts out so many good wide receivers that I can understand why everybody feels that way. I don't disagree.
Do you think he's going to be as dumb as Kadarius Toney?
No, I don't think that's going to be the issue. I think that what I'm trying to get at with that comparison is that they are. I think Malik Neighbors could be what Kadarius Toney was supposed to be. I don't know if he's going to be a true number one receiver, but I think that he could definitely like make differences in some games.
See, are you saying that this is like his peak is like that 1 week of like you think he'll be consistently like 10 for 189
No,
or that's like the best that he'll get?
I think that's I think, bro, I don't know what it is when I watch him. It's hard to watch LSU film. It is because you have you have 2 tackles that are going to go in the top 10 next year in the draft.
They
You
always
have
have great O linemen. They've had a good quarterback the last like what 5 years.
you had Jaden Daniels, who's been playing college football since before the pandemic. You had Brian Thomas Jr. lined up on one side. You had Malik Neighbors on the other, and then you have a talented running back. It's hard to really truly evaluate this team. And then you're playing in a college system where half the time these guys are running wide open. So
Yeah.
I think that my biggest concern with him is that he's hard to evaluate. The first thing that pops out to me is that he's not a great route runner. So yeah, I think that he could have peaks, but I think that there will be deep valleys. I don't think he's like the real true number one receiver that everybody else feels like he is in this draft.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I just have a hard time like betting against wide receivers from LSU at this point. They've just been so consistently good coming out.
And that's
But
why
I
that's
get
where
it.
this comp comes from. Boom bust
Yeah.
potential. He's either going to boom and everybody's
Yeah.
going to be like holy shit, or he's just going to be average.
Yeah.
Next one, people kind of said that this was a like a shot, but I mean, like Michael Crabtree was a 10-plus year vet in the NFL, played for multiple teams, played in a lot of big games. So I don't get why like not everybody has to be Randy Moss. Like not everybody has to be Jerry Rice. It's kind of like there's got to be doctors and there has to be fucking truck drivers. Like that's the way this works. Not everybody's going to be a high end comp. So the reason I said that for this is they're both great at the contested catch. They both have big bodies, and I do think that Rome Odunze is going to have a very long career in the NFL and be impactful.
Yeah, I'm looking at Crabtree's stats right here, and he had I think it's hard now to kind of like make some of these comparisons because of just how much it feels like these guys throw the football around compared to back then. But I mean, Crabtree had 2 years of over 1,000 yards receiving. I mean, I think Roma Dunze ends up having more than two of those in his NFL career, but I don't know if that's really saying much anymore because if you are like
I mean,
we're
is it
seeing
though?
we're getting to the point where like wide receiver twos are having 1,000 yard seasons.
I mean, let's just look at where Roma Dunze is like lining up to go in his NFL career right now. Right now, it's probably either the Bears or the Jets. First off, the Jets have Garrett Wilson. That's their number one wide receiver. And then on top of that, if he goes to the Bears, he'll be the number three. I think what I'm trying to get at with this comp is that I think he will have very productive seasons. I don't think he's a true alpha number one.
I agree with you there. I think he'll end up being like a
Michael
very
Crabtree.
like the tip top level too. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I would have to like go back and like watch Michael Crabtree even more, but I think he ends up being like a top tier wide receiver too.
I don't hate that. I think there will be some season that's true. Next, the guy that I think is extremely overhyped in this draft is Brian Thomas Jr. My NFL comp to him is Will Fuller. If you remember Will Fuller in college, dude, that
Nasty.
guy at Notre Dame was
Yeah, it was sick.
crazy. And in the NFL, he had some very, very productive seasons before he got in trouble with like steroids and stuff like that with Deshaun Watson. But ultimately,
Couple
I
massage
don't
parlors too.
yeah, I don't love what I see from Brian Thomas Jr. from like a versatility like he's not a versatile receiver. He can run straight, he can run fast. I think he does a decent job of tracking the ball in the air, but ultimately I think he's like a one-trick pony, and that's what Will Fuller was as well.
Okay.
Next one, Lad McConkey, Sterling Shepard. This is a weird one because everybody was thought that it was a great idea to compare Lad McConkey to Puka Nacua. Newsflash, nobody in this draft will be Puka Nacua. He's the best rookie wide receiver to ever play the game of football. Newsflash for everybody.
I want to say something about that. I also don't think anybody knew how good Puka Nacua was going to be coming into it, so I don't know if that's a fair statement.
No,
He
it's
was
not
no doubt the best rookie wide
ever.
receiver we've seen,
Ever.
but the
Say ever.
no,
He broke every rookie receiving record ever. Catches, yards, touchdowns, everything. He is the
they
best rookie receiver ever. Say it.
we throw the football so much more
He
now.
beat Justin Jefferson, he beat Jamar Chase, and he beat a record from the 70s. So
Can you
he is
let me finish my
the
point?
best receiver ever.
I just want to say that nobody knew how good Puka Nacua was going to be. And I think that that still applies, not necessarily to Lad McConkey, but just like in general, like any of these guys could just end up snapping and nobody could see it coming.
Say Puka Nacua is the best rookie wide receiver ever. Because he
I'm not
is.
saying it. I'm not saying
Who
it.
is then? Who is?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm not saying
You're scared. You're a coward.
it.
The reason why Lad McConkey to me is like I think he'll be decent. Like you look at some seasons that Sterling Shepard have or games that he put together where he was extremely like valuable on the field. I think that he can do some of that. The reasoning why I don't love Lad McConkey like long term, I guess, is because everybody's all over him. Everybody's like, "Oh, he's the next Cooper Cup." Like, no, he's not. I think a better comparison is Sterling Shepard, who is a good solid slot receiver who can pop off for some big games.
You didn't want to compare him to like Julian Edelman. Edelman.
No, that would have been lazy because Julian Edelman is
I
the
know
best playoff receiver ever.
he's nasty. He was nasty.
AD Mitchell, my comparison to him is George Pickens, but worse. AD Mitchell, when you watch him on the plays where he isn't getting the football, he's completely disengaged. He's not like a great team player, it feels like, on the field. Also on top of that, I feel like his game is exactly like George Pickens. Like go deep, try to make a play, try to make a ridiculous catch on the sideline. And I don't know how that will stack up in the league. We kind of talked about this already. All of his like uh advanced metrics are like super super bad, and usually when those advanced metrics are bad you don't pan out in the NFL. So I just don't love AD Mitchell, one because of his attitude, two his disinterest when he's not having the football, and then three I don't think his game is like well rounded at all. um
I, th-
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I I laughed when I saw this
Yeah,
comparison today. Not because I think it's wrong or anything. I just think it's funny that the
thank
way
you.
that you worded it.
This next one is, I think this is like dead, like spot on of a comparison, honestly. Xavier Worthy, Marvin Mims Jr. I was going to compare Xavier Worthy to Jameson Williams, but Jameson Williams was a lot more of an accomplished player as Xavier Worthy was in college, like during his last season before
Yeah.
he tore his ACL, and looked really good. So I don't love it. And he's way bigger than Xavier Worthy. So I think more of a role that I see him in is like a Marvin Mims role where you're a gadget guy, you're a returner, and we're gonna throw it deep to you every once in a while.
Yeah, I actually love this comparison. I honestly forgot about Marvin Mims and how just he was electric in college. Um, but I think this is a great comparison, honestly.
Next one, Keon Coleman
My guy.
compared to Drake London. This is a weird one because Drake London's obviously been in the NFL for a few like 2 years now, but like their games are like extremely similar to me. Like they both have great body control, both can make good plays, and I don't think that either of them are reliant on like the big explosive play. I think Keon Coleman actually has more upside than Drake London has in the NFL, but this is more of kind of how I see him currently.
Yeah, I think they're both like what both of them are like 6'3", 6'4". They're not burners by any means. And I think if you end up with Drake, if you take Keon Coleman and you end up with Drake May and you end up with getting a Drake May, I don't think you're gonna be. I think I still have a hard time
Drake
figuring out
London.
Drake London because they haven't had good quarterbacks in Atlanta. I think this year we'll really get a good idea of what or how good Drake London is. Um, so I'm gonna hold off on my comment that I was gonna say until we see consistent quarterback play from
That's fair.
whoever's throwing Drake London the football.
Next one, Troy Franklin out of Oregon. I'm comparing him to Paul Richardson. Paul Richardson, for anybody who doesn't remember, played for the Seahawks, got a big contract with the Redskins, the now Commanders. Um, he's a decent player, but never kind of like really lived up to his hype. I kind of look at Troy Franklin the same way as I look at Brian Thomas Jr. He's kind of a one trick pony. He like didn't catch the football last season. Like if anybody goes back and watches him, I think that's a really big concern. So I don't love Troy Franklin, but I could see a lot of Paul Richardson in his game if he's
Yeah,
productive. This is
I
like a
can honestly
mid-tier comp for him, honestly.
Yeah, I can honestly say that I haven't even seen a ton of Troy Franklin coming out, so I
He can't catch.
I don't have much to provide on this comp.
That's fair. Low key, my favorite receiver in this class, Ricky Pearsall. I'm comparing him to Nate Burleson. Weird comparison, I know, but like essentially, I think that if Ricky Pearsall gets added to the correct situation, he will be an elite complementary wide receiver. Like just from a complementary standpoint, not gonna snap, not gonna do anything, but he is going to be somebody who's extremely reliable and plays for a long time in the NFL. And I actually think that he plays for a long time. I like Ricky Pearsall.
I remember Nate Burleson in Madden, and I always loved having him on my teams.
Yeah.
So I've got nothing but good things to say about this comp. I think Ricky Pearsall like put himself on the map when he had that insane one-handed catch,
Oh yeah.
and he's just been kind of steady climbing up the draft boards and like up the I like this player ranking for me. So
Another person who I really, really love in this draft in the second round, if you can get him, is Malik Washington out of UVA. He's a dog. I look at him as like a high end when Curtis Samuel's healthy. And when Curtis Samuel's healthy, he's an all-time great gadget player, but he hasn't been able to put together a full season in like a few years. But the high end play from Curtis Samuel is what I see when I watch Malik Washington. And
I've
then
got nothing on this one.
And then lastly, Xavier Legette, who a lot of people are high on. Um, I see him being like 2021 Atlanta Cordero Patterson. Where I didn't want to say Debo Samuel because I think that's high end elite comp, but
Yeah.
he's got kind of the same body type, can do a lot of the same things as him. I think he can be a playmaker, but we have to kind of see it play out first.
Yeah, I think the easy thing is just to say Debo, but I don't think he reaches that Debo level. So I think Cordero Patterson is like the next best version that you can get of Debo without it being considered like an elite player. Because I mean, who knows? I like Xavier Legette, but the odds of him becoming Debo Samuel are probably not high. So if you end up as Cordero Patterson, I still think you end up playing in the NFL for a good time and
Bro,
for a
that's
good bit
that's
and having a great career.
That's a lot of the issues that I have with the current player comps. When I was making them, I was trying to be like realistic. Like saying that you'd be Cordero Patterson in the NFL is like a compliment. Like he's
Yeah,
one of the best returners
100%.
to ever play the game of football. He's been on Super Bowl teams. Like so when I say like I feel like that the immediate default for a lot of people when they do the player comps is like, oh yeah, he reminds me of Jerry Rice. It's like, okay, well, like what does he actually remind you of? Because Jerry Rice is the best player to ever play football ever. So I
Yeah,
try to keep
that's
it a little bit more realistic and I try to do my best. But yeah, that's kind of what I came up with after watching majority of the wide receivers. I haven't watched all of them.
20 I mean 2022 Cordero Patterson had 8 touchdowns. That's
Yeah,
like the most
exactly.
that's the most he's ever had in his entire NFL in an entire NFL season. So that's good. I'll take that.
Hmm.
So,
All right, what do you got for me, brother?
all right. So, do you want to see my mock draft?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Let's see here. Let's take a look here.
Smart.
Mm, Window. Entire screen. Oh, here we go. Is it working?
No.
What the fuck? Why is this not working? How do I do this?
Get out of the bottom, hit present, share
I'm
screen, click the share screen, and then click the window that you want to share.
I just did that. What the fuck? Share. Do you see it?
No.
What the heck?
Like you'd
Enter full
see it
screen?
too.
I mean, I see it. It's popping up on my screen.
Oh, really? No, it's not. It's not showing
Right.
up.
Wait. Hmm, that sucks. What the? Oh, wait. There it is.
That's on me.
Did you have to do it since you're like running the show? Did you have to be the one that edited it because you're like running it?
Yeah, it's on me.
Okay. All right. So this is my first round mock draft. Um, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tackles going.
Run through it.
So first, obviously, we got Caleb Williams to the Bears. Not much to say there. I think
It's a
second we
lock.
got Drake May to Washington. I do think that they got rid of Sam Howell for a reason. I think they end up taking Drake May here. This is where it got dicey for me because I don't know if it's going to be the Giants. I don't know if it's going to be the Vikings. I don't know who, but I do think somebody ends up trading up. And in this instance, I have the Giants trading up and taking Jaden Daniels. My reasoning behind this is um, I think that they take a quarterback and let him sit behind Daniel Jones until like week 14, week 13, if they're out of it, which I fully expect them to be, and they'll be done with Daniel Jones' contract at the end of this year, if I'm correct, and they'll have their quarterback for next year.
Okay. First thing with that is if you're taking a quarterback in the top 5, he's expected to play immediately. So
I know that.
that would be my first like issue with this is like you can't first off, Brian Daboll's already on a ticking time bomb. You can't take a quarterback number 3 and then just be like, "Yep, well we're not going to play him for the year." Like it's just not I just think that that's not how that's going to work for them. And then 2, I want Drake May to go number 2, but I really personally think and have heard directly that number 2 is up in the air between is the race isn't around Drake May, it's around Jaden Daniels and JJ McCarthy. And I
That's
don't
crazy.
think JJ McCarthy is going to go number 2. So as default, I'm going to go Jaden Daniels, but that's just me. And
Fair.
then second one that I have here is if the New York Giants trade up and take a quarterback at 3, they should have to relocate their franchise.
Listen, I do think I've seen a ton. I've been continuously seeing stuff about the Giants being interested in potentially moving up, and I don't think it makes sense for them to move from 6 to 3 and not take a quarterback. Um, but like I also said, I think that this spot right here at 3 is just like so up in the air because I feel like the Patriots could trade with 5 different teams. So just for the sake of this, I picked the Giants and because I wanted to get spicy.
That's fair. I respect it. Keep going.
So 4 Cardinals taking Marvin Harrison Jr.
Lock.
5 I've got the Chargers taking Brock Bowers. I think they could go wide receiver here easily, but um, Brock Bowers is as I did this a second time, I got to the point where I had Brock Bowers at like 17 and I was like, all right, well that's certainly not going to happen. So I do
Is it
think that
though?
I don't think he goes that late.
I think top 5 is the only reason I'm saying this to you is the charge like Jim Harbaugh has been he's pretty much been sitting in front of the media and being like extremely transparent and being like, "Well, we're going to take an O lineman because like that's like what matters right now for us. Like that's what we need." I think that they're really concerned about the trenches and building that. this right here is a big trade back candidate, I think. Or I know for a fact that they're really focused on trying to trade back.
I know. I just wasn't sure where that was going to come. Like that could easily be the pause. That could easily be the Vikings trading up to 5.
Yeah,
But I just didn't have it in me to do the Vikings moving up to 5 just to take JJ McCarthy because I don't get it.
I respect
Um,
that for sure.
so, but there's also like another part of me that's like I'm looking at this, and if you're the Vikings and you aren't trading to the second or third spot, why would you even move up to 5? Like, unless you're concerned about somebody else moving up to 5, that's the only reason why it makes any sense. You can get JJ McCarthy at 11. You can trade back and get JJ McCarthy, I think. If you're the Vikings, I don't see the need for them to move up to 5. I mean, I could just be straight
I
up
think
wrong though.
I think realistically, like the trade up spot is 3. I just think that ultimately the shakeout of the quarterbacks goes a little differently. But
Yeah.
keep going.
Yeah, all right. I got the Patriots taking Joe Alt at 6.
I I
They
love
they
that.
could they could realistically take any of the top like 10 players, and I think it'd be all right because they're just so bad from an entire roster standpoint. Um, I have Tennessee taking Malik Neighbors to partner with Calvin Ridley. Um, I think at this point he's probably best player available. I think that Tennessee could probably go
O
almost
line.
any direction. Yeah, like O line, D line. So yeah, I think it
This
could
is
like
this is one where I will fully disagree with you just because they just signed Calvin Ridley. They still have DeAndre Hopkins. They probably could
honestly I
look
completely forgot about Calvin Ridley when I was doing this.
yeah,
So
they could probably go for younger receiver, but I think that would probably be later in the draft. I think their probably biggest need right now is O-line for sure.
yeah, yeah, fair enough. Falcons, there was talks about them trying to get Daniil Hunter and Hassan Reddick, so I think it's only right they go D line or edge here. Um, Bears get their wide receiver 3, Ramadunze.
Love it.
I know that the Jets just signed shit, who's the guy from the Cowboys?
Tyron Smith.
Tyron Smith, but I still think that they would benefit from taking another offensive lineman in this spot. This could be another wide receiver spot as well, but with Adunze and Neighbors off the board, I don't think it makes sense for them to take any of these other wide receivers this early in the draft.
Completely agree.
Vikings kind of already explained that this could easily be a team that jumps up. I think there's just way too much talk about them taking a quarterback, JJ McCarthy, something along those lines, that I think they get greedy and try to do it early rather than maybe wait for, I don't know, like the second round and try and take a um, Michael Penix or something like that. So I've got them there. I mean, Broncos pretty much need help almost everywhere. So I
Correct.
think best player available probably is Quinyon Mitchell. I don't know what's going to happen with Surtain, but having those two lined up across the field from one another is honestly a miserable matchup if you're an offensive coordinator. Raiders, this was another spot too. I mean, it feels like everybody kind of needs a quarterback, which is really weird because it felt like at the end of last season, not that many teams necessarily needed one, but here we are.
Real,
I
real, real quick about the quarterback thing, especially with the Raiders, is like you sign on what's his name, Gardner Minshew, who has shown that he can be a good stopgap quarterback.
yeah,
I don't foresee them taking a quarterback in the first round.
I
I
agree.
could see them taking a shot on like a Bo Nix or a Michael Penix or the kid from Tulsa in
Tulane.
Tulane in the later rounds.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of where I was at too. So that's why I just went with tackle Troy Fontenot. Saints, they can't really draft a quarterback even though they need one. I think they really need help in the trenches. Um, so I went with Johnny Newton here. Colts, outside of drafting another wide receiver for Anthony Richardson, I think they could probably use help on at the corner position. Cooper
Um,
DeJean's not my favorite corner, but I apparently teams like him, so I could see Colts taking him here.
Bro, apparently he's got backtrack one. I still kind of stand the same with Saints taking an alignment as well. Ton of O line going in the first year.
Yeah.
But uh Cooper DeJean, like it seems like a lot of people love him, so he's probably gonna go pretty early. He's definitely he seems like a first round lock.
Yeah, I think he is a first round lock, no doubt, even though he's not my favorite corner out there.
Yeah.
Um, 16 Seahawks taking Laiatu Latu, pair him up with what's the dude that they got from the Giants?
Cat Cat Williams.
Leonard
Leonard
Williams.
Williams.
Yeah, pair him up along their defensive line. Jaguars taking Terrion Arnold at 17. Bengals taking Byron Murphy the second at 18.
That would be crazy if they got him. But keep going. Like
They
that would be the best case Ontario for the Bengals.
I know. I've got Olu falling all the way to 19, even though I initially said I didn't think he would. Um, I just think that the Rams probably need to start rebuilding along that offensive line and defensive line too, especially with Aaron Donald retiring.
See, like
Uh,
real quick about the Rams, I almost feel like they don't need offensive line help. They just paid big money for both their guards. They have okay tackles. I don't know. I could be wrong, but just
I
their
also
moves that they made, like they've built the O line. It feels like.
I also think there's a part of me that's like, okay, you might not feel great about your tackles, and you have this opportunity to get a guy that was initially thought to be a top 3 pick at 19. So
I mean, that's a good.
there's
Yeah, I'm right with you.
plenty of infinite upside almost for Olu if you're the Rams and a guy like that falls to you at 19. 20, I've got the Steelers taking an offensive lineman, JC Latham from Alabama.
I'm right with
21,
you.
I've got the Dolphins taking edge, Dallas Turner. I don't know if he ends up falling this deep either. I think it could. I do think they end up taking a defensive lineman. They lost the kid from Miami that tore his Achilles, and they
Jalen
lost
Phillips.
Jalen Phillips, and they lost an interior defensive lineman in Christian Wilkins. So I do think they end up going defensive line here.
I'm letting you know right now that if Dallas Turner falls back
I know.
to 12, there's going to
Yeah.
be a team that gets extremely aggressive and trades up and gets him.
I know. I just didn't know like how to go about some of these trades. So after that first one, I kind of just like left it as is because I don't know. There just feels like there's so many things that could happen. But if Byron Murphy and Dallas Turner fall to 18 and 21, like the odds of that are so slim. But I just tried to leave it as is. Um, I've got the Eagles taking Kool-Aid McKinstry. I'm not so, like I haven't been really seeing a ton of
He's not a first round pick. He
I,
won't
I
go in the
haven't
first round.
I haven't seen a ton of what they have been looking for as far as this draft goes. Like they're meeting with Chop Robinson, what I just saw, but like I don't think there's a wide receiver that they can get at for their wide receiver 3 at 22. They have. I mean, I don't think Paris Campbell's anything special. I don't think Devontae Parker's anything special either. But like, I don't think there's a guy that's
It
worth
feels like taking a
22.
receiver in the first round this year would be extremely excessive.
Yeah, I don't think that they need to do that.
No. I don't think Kool-Aid McKinstry will be a first round pick though.
I think they end up taking a corner is my ultimate thing here. I'm also just not really. I don't really know how I feel about Nate Wiggins. I'm not super sold on him. Um, but yeah, I have the Vikings taking Jackson Powers Johnson. Honestly, I saw that kind of looked and was like maybe they need O line, and if you're going to get a quarterback, it's definitely not the worst thing to beef up your offensive line. So
No, it's not. They do have two great young tackles. Jackson Powers Johnson's weird because everybody says how good he's going to be, but I started seeing reports that he was going to fall. But if he falls out of the first, I can't imagine him falling out of the first round. He just seems like such a sure pro.
yeah. And I feel like he seems big enough that you could slide him to guard for a season like the Eagles did with Cam Jurgens, and then if you need to, move him to guard. But if not, just keep him at center. Um, I've got the Cowboys taking Amarius Mims. Um, I think that when you went over yours, the one thing that I did mention was I don't see them taking a linebacker this early. My follow up was I do think they end up just going tackle here. So yeah, that's why I went with Amarius Mims.
So the reason why I don't think that and I said this, I think I said this last time, the Cowboys is Tyler Smith, who they took 2 years ago, who've been playing guard for them, who's all pro upside, is moving to left. They've already confirmed, stamped like he's our left tackle. So I think that taking another left tackle would be interesting, but maybe this is one of the teams where like Jackson Powers Johnson or like Zach Frazier could go to with the Cowboys.
Yeah, I could see that. I think they end up ultimately taking a lineman, but who knows? I just don't think it's worth taking a middle linebacker this early in the draft, even though that's what they probably most need. But yeah, I've got the Packers taking Graham Barton, tackle out of Duke, them just beefing up their offensive line. I think they've got really good. I think they've got really good young skill position players. They've got a good young quarterback. I think their defense is all right too, and they just signed a couple. They just signed who was it for the secondary? The dude from the Giants, Xavier McKinney. So I mean, I think this is just like almost a luxury pick for the Packers at this point. I've got the Bucks taking Nate Wiggins out of Clemson. I've got the Cardinals taking Chop Robinson out of Penn State.
That won't happen.
I've been seeing stuff about Chop rising. I just wasn't sure. I knew that the Cardinals probably needed some defensive line help, so that's why I went with Chop here. Bills taking Brian Thomas Jr. They just need a wide receiver.
Yeah, I agree.
Let me see here. Lions. The Lions were a weird one. I'm not really sure how I feel about this pick. But at the end of the day, my thing is I guess just from being an Eagles fan, like it never hurts to have too many quality players on your offense and defensive line. So like that's kind of how I always revert to this as far as like drafting goes. Because like we saw the Lions run the football efficiently, but if they have maybe they go defensive line here as well. That was another thing that I was thinking of. But
I think the clear glaring hole on this Lions defense is just their secondary. You lose Chauncey Gardner Johnson, you lose Cam
yeah,
Sutton, you lose Jeff Okudah last season. You don't your secondary was Swiss cheese all year. Feels like you have to address it with this pick.
I just don't feel that great about taking some of these guys this high is my only thing.
I mean, you have Kool-Aid McKinstry at 22.
Yeah, I think he's going to be great.
There's 5 DBs that are better than him in the back half of this draft.
I don't know. I'll give you Nate Wiggins being better than him, but
I think TJ Tampa is better than Kool-Aid McKinstry. I think the kid out of Michigan is going to actually end up going in the first round as well. There's people that are better and have more respect currently in this current landscape than Kool-Aid McKinstry does.
Fair enough. I've got Ravens taking AD Mitchell. I think they probably need to get another wide receiver at this point.
It feels like it.
To pair up with Zay Flowers.
I just don't know what else. Like I feel like that's probably the right move for them, but like I just don't. They never do like what we think they should do. So I just like never know what like the Ravens are gonna do with their pick. It feels like they should definitely take a wide receiver though.
Yeah, I agree. Niners taking Tyler Gutton, Guyton, sorry, and then Chiefs taking Lad McConkey. And that
Nice.
rounds it out.
No, I love this. I love it. The only thing that I hate is the Titans taking Malik Neighbors.
I honestly will change that in my next one. But the issue that I had is it feels weird letting it like him falling to hold on, let me see here. Like I can't see him falling past 9 is my thing. I can't see him falling past the like that Bears pick.
Yeah, I think that, bro, honestly, like what it comes down to that we like forget, like you see how many tackles that you have getting taken like in this
Literally
class.
8 of them.
Like that's where
8 first round tackles.
that's where like we need to be smarter than like the casual people, because you know that everybody's going to be like, well, you got to take like this person and that person, you need to take a wide receiver at 6. Like that's usually never how it rocks. Like it's usually way more boring than that. It's like
Definitely.
O-line, D-line,
Yeah.
quarterback. Like that's usually how it goes. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
go based off of history with these picks usually, but I think you're right. I think Malik Neighbors is a top 10 pick. I just don't know where he falls, and it seems like
Yeah.
it would be irresponsible for the Titans to take him.
Yeah, I like I said, completely forgot about the Calvin Ridley move at the time that I was doing this. Um, but at the same time, though, I don't even know what the hell to think sometimes with these teams. Like they could get into a spot where they're like, "Oh, holy shit! Like we have Malik Neighbors sitting here at 7 for us. Like we think he's going to be really, really good." And they take him. Like I feel like that happens like a good amount of the time too when these teams are drafting. So like all of this is so difficult to figure out sometimes. But I mean,
Yeah,
all
but
I can really
they
do
could
is just
literally
give it.
think they could literally think the same exact thing about like JC Latham. Like they could be like,
Yeah,
"Holy
true.
fuck, we have JC Latham is still on the board. We thought the Chargers were going to take
Yeah,
him at 5 and we get him at 7. Like we got to
yeah,
scoop him." So like
yeah. Good point. That's the thing.
it
There's just so much like variability with outside of like a handful of teams. There, it feels like there's just so much variability with where these picks could go.
no, you're definitely right. And
I
it's
also don't
going to
think there's
change
that
100 more times.
No doubt. I also like the whole having 8 tackles in this first round. I think that I feel like after I said that, I was like, dang, I kind of feel better about this than I did after like as I was doing this. Like looking through 8 tackles, like we obviously sit here and we see how important it is like to have a good offensive line, especially with like how much of some of these freak shows are at edge and rushing the passer. Like it never feels like you can have too many good offensive
Bro,
linemen.
I mean, let's just call it as it is. We watched Anthony Richardson get hurt. We watched Aaron Rodgers
Yeah,
lose a season. We watched Joe Burrow lose a season. There were so many backup quarterbacks in and out this entire year that every single person was complaining about it. What it comes down to now is like we watched what happened last season. I think that there's going to be like an overcorrection of what happened. And that's why I agree with you completely. I think that there's going to be a ton of O linemen
yeah,
taken in this first round because there's a ton of talented ones. And we watched some bad football last season due to poor O line play. And you saw teams invest in backup quarterbacks this offseason. Like you watched the Cardinals go get Desmond Ritter. You watched Sam Howell get moved to Seattle. You watched Drew Lock go to New York because you watched the Jets get Tyrod Taylor, because it's like if he goes down, like we need to make sure that we have like some competent backup play. So, like I
yeah.
said, I think we see an overcorrection from the offensive line this year in the first round of the draft, honestly.
The
But
one thing that I would have done differently is I do think we see, even though I might not be as sold on some of the like the defensive line and edge guys, I do think we see that same thing, like an overcorrection here as well, because of just how important it feels like having a good pass rusher is, and how much of a game changer it can be for you as a defense if you have a guy like that. So that's
Yeah, you're
I just don't.
right.
I just don't know where the.
I
I just
agree
don't know
with
where the
you.
talent of
Just a,
lies is
it's
the
a weak
issue
class.
because yeah, it's not great. Like I could
It's a
realistically see
tier.
Chop Robinson going higher than 27, just
See,
because.
like I think where
Let
you
me
see
let,
Chop.
my reasoning for this is Penn State guys normally translate well into the NFL. Chop Robinson's an athletic freak show, and I think just the same thing with offensive linemen. I think that same thing happens with defensive linemen too. Like Nolan Smith was there for the Eagles, and I think Chop Robinson might translate better than Nolan Smith.
Bro, Nolan Smith is trash, respectfully.
Exactly my point. Like I think Chop
Um,
Robinson's a better defensive end than Nolan Smith.
I think what it comes down to, I personally think that if he gets taken, it's 30 to 32. Like I think it's like that 27 to 32 where you have him going or falling out
Yeah,
of the first. But like it seems like edge is like Dallas Turner and Jared Verse, and it
yeah.
seems that like it's Dallas Turner, and then like if you get Jared Verse, it's like all right, like it is what it is. But like he could be good. It seems that way though.
Yeah, it's tough. It's also hard for me to bet against guys coming out of Alabama too, with a proven track record of putting up good NFL players on the defensive side of the ball. Like
And
honestly, the same thing kind of with Penn State too. Like they've had at least recently done a really good job of translating guys to the NFL. So
who
that's Penn
who
State,
no
like
who
offense.
what players?
Micah Parsons,
Who else?
Jair Brown.
Who else?
Do you need me to go through all of the
I'm just
guys? They've
asking.
got
I'm
like
just asking who's been like a
um,
high impact starter for them, honestly, other than Micah.
Jair Brown has definitely been a high impact starter for the Niners.
Okay, that's fine.
He had
So
an
two
interception
guys.
in the Super Bowl.
So two guys.
Who was the literally? I think Pat Fryermuth is a high end starter
He's
at the
a
tight end
high end
position.
starter, a high
There's
end,
like top 12.
high end.
That's top. That's high.
Bro, you're smoking crack, bro.
Pat Fryermuth is a good NFL tight end.
Listen, I understand he's solid. I
Saquon
think
Barkley.
okay. Saquon got drafted a half decade ago. Close the
Okay.
yearbook.
You
Like
can't do both. You can't play both sides of this.
I'm not playing both sides. I'm just asking. Usually from what we've seen so far, other than Micah, who I think is a complete anomaly because everybody kind of knew he was going to be good. Like other than that, like I think that the edge
Joey
rushers
Porter
that
Jr.,
other that okay, he's good. Other than
Jahan Dotson.
the edge rusher, he fell off already. The
Oh,
edge rushers that come out of I mean, bro, Sam Howell threw for fucking 5,000 yards last year, and Jahan Dotson was crickets. So don't sit
Jaquan
here.
Brisker,
He's a decent safety. See, now you're saving
Blake
yourself.
Gillikin.
All right, shut up.
He's
Now
a
you're
great kicker.
but you're saving yourself now with a few of those players. I just think the Penn State edge rushers kind of get inflated a little bit more because they test super well, but I think that like usually they don't play up to expectation. It feels like other than Micah, obviously.
So, what is it? Adafe Owe. I
Sucks.
think that was an unfair situation because did
Because he
I think he was
sucks.
good at Penn State? Yes, but did he have any business being a second round pick? Absolutely not.
But he was.
He's an athletic freak, but like if you watched him and you watched Penn State, you weren't like, "Damn, this kid's the truth." He was
But he
good, don't get
was
me wrong.
though.
No, he was not like a holy shit. This kid's when he got drafted in the second round, I was legitimately surprised
He had like first round buzz though. People really liked him.
because he's an athletic freak, but him as an actual defensive end edge rusher was not like, holy shit, this kid should be a second round lock, maybe first round.
Yeah, so that's kind of how I feel about Chop Robinson. He just wasn't very productive from getting to the quarterback standpoint in college. I think he tested super well, and we'll see.
We will see. I'm
You have
agreeing with
anything
you.
else?
No, I'm
I
agreeing
wasn't
with
even
you.
saying anything. Why'd you just get so defensive?
You're coming at my team, man.
Dude, listen, I'll do it all
Donovan
night.
Smith,
Yeah, okay. That guy's
Mike
dog
Gesicki.
shit. Listen, I have nothing negative to say about Mike Gesicki. That's my guy. So
Who's
it's
the
not fair.
guy? Nick Scott.
He's average.
Yeah,
He
be
is.
careful.
That's
Yes,
that's
no. I
fair.
thought you were gonna say. I thought you were gonna say he sucked.
I mean, he's average. I mean, I think that like now, like I think his best football is behind him already.
I don't even know who he just signed with. Was it
Yeah,
the Jets?
yeah,
No, it was the Panthers.
exactly.
Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, no doubt. If you're going to Carolina, your shit's cooked. So
Listen, all I'm saying is I get a little
Brenton Strange.
skeptical about the Penn State football players. And I know Brenneman is gonna when the first round ends, he's gonna be shell shocked that Theo Johnson didn't go in the top 32, but he needs a wake up call.
I certainly do not have him in my top 32.
That's fair. Listen, me and you, we're on the same page. I agree. It was great chopping it up. I don't have anything else unless if you do. This would be our shortest episode on record.
Oh no, I got something.
Oh, go ahead.
The
Yeah, how was
Drake
the Drake
concert.
concert? Yeah, I was gonna ask you
Yeah.
that. I forgot.
So, I'm at the driving range on Saturday, just hitting golf balls, and I get a call from Jordan Styles, and he's like, "Yo, I know this is a long shot, but like, I just got 2 free suite tickets to go see Drake tomorrow night." And I was like, "Oh, that's fucking sick." He's like, "Yeah, do you want to come with me?" And I'm like, "I mean, yeah, I'd love to. Just let me make sure that I'm not eating like Easter dinner or anything." And we had Easter lunch, so like I was good to go. But picked him up at 4, drove up to State College, had dinner, went over to the Bryce Jordan Center. Um, the line actually wasn't like too bad to get in. The merch uh, was okay. I think there was only like 4 or 5 shirts. They didn't have any long sleeve, which I was kind of upset about. But I don't remember how expensive the Travis Scott hoodies were, but the one Drake hoodie that like the only one they had was this blue one with like the same cover as like the Scary Hours portion of For All the Dogs, and it was 220.
Oh
I
my
don't like
god!
that. Yeah, it was crazy.
The
I couldn't even
The
tell.
Travis hoodies were like $60.
Yeah, I couldn't remember how much they were off the top of my head, but like I don't know where these t-shirts were coming from, but 220 for that, I was like, that's not worth it at all. And so many people had them too. But
Damn
yeah,
it!
we got into the suite. Um, Nobody checked our tickets, which was super weird. That's the only time I've ever had that. Every time I've been in a suite, which hasn't been often, they've had somebody at least come around and just like make sure that this is where you're supposed to be. Um, and then Zach Bia came on and DJ'd for probably like 30 minutes. And then it was like another 20-ish minute break. And then Drake came on. Um, I will say I was surprised with like the production as a whole of the Drake concerts. Um, Obviously, we see like videos and stuff like that on Twitter and TikTok, Instagram, but I don't really think those do it justice. I think it's better as a production whole than those videos um, lead you to
Lead off.
believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, it's not like comparable to Travis because I think that that is a whole different experience. But like, I think that I think that everything was much better. Um, he started out like he opened. So it opened up with his band like walking on and going to like the bleachers. So the whole Bryce Jordan Center floor was like a football stadium, which was pretty cool. And it had the band come on, and like as they were walking over across to the bleachers, they were playing Trophies, like the instrumental, which was pretty good. And then the first song was Virginia Beach, and it starts off with the guy that look like the kid that looks like Drake, but he's just like in a locker room that they have like off to the side, and then Drake pulls up, and the whole thing like collapses and is open. Um, and then he goes up to the stage, and then as he's on stage, there were certain songs that would play, and like as they were playing, the stage would like change and have like certain videos, and I can't remember what song it was, but I'd have to go back and look at the video. The stage played like just old sports clips, like Michael Jordan, like Barry Sanders, Kobe, LeBron, all like kind of old throwback stuff, which I thought was pretty cool. Um, and then it would just like kind of vary. He would have like different things popping out and come out for like different songs. Like Knife Talk, he had this huge Grim Reaper come across like come across the ceiling and everything, which was pretty cool. But all in all, I loved it. It was like surreal seeing Drake in concert. Obviously, he's my favorite, so that was sick. I told you about Lil Wayne. Also, he was there for a little bit, which was awesome to see. But it was just like sad seeing Lil Wayne at this point in his career because truly not that many people there. It was all obviously a lot of college kids, and he was playing songs that like we loved as we grew up, and I feel like they didn't really know some of the like the words to the songs. So he would like leave out spaces for the fans to like sing in the words. And when Drake does it, everybody knows. But when Lil Wayne was doing it, just like there would be moments when nobody responded. And I was like, damn, like this is like maybe I'm old as hell now.
I think Lil Wayne's fine. Like I don't think he's losing sleep over it. You don't have
No,
to
I
feel
don't think he
bad. You
cares.
don't have to
I
feel
don't,
bad for the guy.
but dude,
It's
I
mad
would
funny.
love to see him. I would have loved to see him like when he was at his like
Peak.
peak, bro. Like when Carter 3 came out, that place would have and we were say we were at a concert for that, like that shit would have been bumping.
Would have
Like
been
he
like
played a
12.
Millie. Yeah, exactly.
Like we would have been like 12 years old.
Yeah, but
Um,
we know every word from that stuff. Like he
what
played Mrs. Officer, he played a Millie, and like I was ripping those off, but it felt like not. He played 6 foot, 7 foot, and then they
what
played She
what did you
Will.
think about like the overall song selection that Drake put out? Like was it your favorite or do you wish that it could have maybe been like a different set list of songs from him?
So I actually went and looked up the. I went and Googled like what the set list was going to be and put together a playlist just
Naturally.
to like lock in. Um, Overall, I would say he didn't really play a ton of stuff off of Her Loss. He played maybe like three songs from All the Dogs, two songs from All the Dogs. I wouldn't have hate 3 songs. He played Amen, Virginia Beach, and You Broke My Heart, which I'm fine with all of those. I would say all in all, the whole set list, I would probably put it at like for the sake of it being a concert, it's difficult because there's other songs that I would want to hear that might not be the best songs for concerts. So like all in all, I would probably set the entire thing at like 8.3.
Like 8.3.
Yeah, out of 10. Like I thought it was out of the songs that he played, I thought I was so happy to hear them. Were there ones that I wanted to hear that I didn't hear? Yes, but also this was meant for like I think he could have ended up playing some more stuff off of Her Loss and um for All the Dogs, but and that's what would have made it elevate
I
more
think
for me. I wouldn't have hated hearing more stuff off of like Nothing Was the Same, but also that those songs are 20 years old, 10 years old. So
I also think that it's a little weird because he's not touring a specific album right now, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like Big as the What, It's All a Blur tour, like kind of all in one. So like it's not just specifically for All the Dogs. But at the same time, I don't think that you could sit there
Well,
in a
Drake's music's not in my personal opinion, Drake's music's not meant to be consumed live. Like, unless if you're like at a venue in Vegas with like 200 people and he's like on a mic, like in an arena. I don't think Drake's music is best consumed in an arena. I don't think. I mean, I don't think that's a crazy statement.
No, I don't think you're far off there.
Yeah.
I think there's other songs that could have been put in here that would have like been good to hear in an arena. Like I would have loved to hear Back Outside Boys, but that's just not on like that. It didn't make the set list, which whatever, but that's one that I would have liked to hear. I'd have to go back through and kind of like look through these albums again. I thought it was sick when he played Laugh Now, Cry Later. I've always loved that song. Um, he played like he played Chicago Freestyle for a little bit, which was nice. But yeah, there was a lot of other songs that I think might have he could have put in there
I mean,
that
you said it kind of like about Travis, where you were like, I didn't like some, not that you didn't particularly like it, but when you heard it live, it felt different. And like
yeah.
Travis says that all the time. He's like, well, when I'm making these songs, like I'm literally specifically making them to perform them live.
Yeah,
So
and I
like,
think that that's great.
and I think that like, I think when I listen to Drake's music, like it's flipped, like where I listen to Drake's
Yeah.
music like in a different way than like I would like consume like something like how like if you go to a Travis concert, like he's performing that shit live
Yeah.
on purpose.
I think In Too Deep would have been sick to hear in person.
I love that. I love that's like that's one of my favorite songs.
I think that would have been so sick to hear. But yeah, all in all, like it was a great experience. Shout out Jordan, thanks for inviting me. Um, Free tickets. I mean, in a suite, you can't really get any better than that. But yeah, it was great. I don't think it's even fair to compare to a Travis concert because it's a completely different mindset and energy going into it.
I
Um,
don't think it's fair to compare any concert to a Travis concert. I think the Travis concert is like a high-end experience that you can have at a concert. And it's not fair to compare it to the rest.
I think maybe until I go see Future, which that's the out of my favorite, that's the
I'm
only other
going.
person that I need to see. Like I've seen Ye, I've seen Drake, seen Travis. Like
Him and
Future
Metro
is
are going on
Future's
tour.
the next one that I need to see.
I'm 100% going to that. A million, like
Yeah,
not even. There's not a doubt in my mind where I like how I needed to be at that Travis concert. I will
yeah.
be at that Future concert, no doubt.
Did they announce that they're doing that?
Somebody tweeted at Metro and was like, um, "Are you guys going on? When's the tour dates get released?" And he just responded with like the eyes emoji. So like
Okay,
they're
yeah,
going to. I can't wait for that. I'm juiced.
yeah. I will be going to that as well, 100%. Because, like I said, Future's the only other of my favorite rappers that I need to see in person, and then I'll be complete. But yeah, like I said, 8.3 for the entire like set list. Could have been a little better, but either way, I it was still surreal, like seeing Drake in real life. So
Yeah,
I was hyped. I had
and that's so
goosebumps like
sweet.
when he popped out. I was like, "Oh fuck, this is real."
Yeah, it was probably sweet. No,
Yeah.
I'm not like a massive concert guy, but I do like going to the ones that I like to go and see. Like I'm not just gonna go to
Yes.
like somebody random, how like some people do. But obviously, whenever you get to go and see your favorite artist, like it's lit. It's fucking
Oh yeah,
fire.
the weekend too. I saw him. He was actually that was a weird concert because obviously the weekend doesn't have like rage your face off like bangers, but he's still just nuts to hear sing live, which
Yeah.
makes up like is almost like cooler to us. I don't like it's really cool, but it's just like a completely different vibe than Travis, completely different vibe than Drake. Like you're going there and you are 100% just chilling out, and it's cool.
I just, dude, the only concert I've ever been to is Travis twice. So like,
Okay, yeah. So you've
so
got
like,
nothing to compare it to.
so like my like, I just whenever I like think of a concert, like I feel like I have to like punch somebody in the face.
Rage, yeah, punch, yeah, knock somebody out.
Like, bro, like just how like it, like you said, it's just different. Like
It is.
where we were watching kids in like the upper decks with their shirts off, like and the light would flash to them, and they were like freaking the fuck out about the jump off the top row. Like that's not
Yeah.
gonna happen at the weekend concert.
No,
Like
no, not at all. If it did, I would be actually concerned.
yeah,
So,
definitely. All right, dude.
but
Well,
no, it was fun. It was fun. But
no,
that's all
that
I
sounds
got.
sweet. That sounds like a good time. I definitely I know I always say this to like people, but Drake signed like a 15-year residency in Vegas at the Wynn, I believe.
Yeah,
And that is my like ultimate goal is to like go and see Drake in that venue because I think that in a smaller venue like that is going to like he's going to perform the songs that I want to hear. Like
yeah,
so I think that that's probably my goal is to see Drake in that setting.
yeah, yeah. That would be phenomenal. And who knows? Maybe that's like the ideal way of seeing a Drake concert. But until then, I've got this, and I'll be all right until then.
No, definitely. All right, brother. I'll have this up.
All right, go Birds.
See ya.